So if we start the show, we're recording.
Hello, Scott. Welcome to Awaken Hidden Truth, and welcome everyone. How
Yep,
are you?
I'm good. The kitty, my little master guide over there, who comes up right when we're about to do a show or go out of our bodies on journeys and stuff. These journeys that I conduct during these shows are unique. They're not being done anywhere else on this planet by anyone in this way. That is nothing to about, talking about myself or thinking I'm more important than anyone else, because I don't think that way. But it's a fact that it's being done uniquely to spearhead a great change into a planet that is entirely unexpected. This coronavirus is unexpected. It's compelling governments to step in kindly to, I don't want to say force, but to make it mandatory that people cooperate and work together worldwide for the first time ever. People die from colds and flus every year, not just the coronavirus. When people hoard things because of fear, it deprives other people, their fellow beings, from getting basic necessities. When there is no shortage, these panicky people create the shortages. They would cause more destruction and harm on this world doing that if it remained unchecked than the virus ever would. If they kept hoarding things like this, then all chains of supply and manufacture would break down. And people would be doing it to themselves, thinking they're saving their families by hoarding things. It's just a road to destruction. And so governments are compelled by the way masses of people panic to step in, to regulate them. People in governments are fear-driven subconsciously too, but they're in structures with militaries that keep them more disciplined from reacting the way masses of people do, who have been denied knowledge of extraterrestrial life by 35 countries after World War II, because they knew people would panic back then. Heck, they're panicking right now over a virus. The fact that the virus spread around the world isn't really unique about viruses either. It's the fact that this one spread more quickly and affected most countries, so that to solve the problem, countries and people have to work together. In this country, people are giving hotel room space by hotel chains that wouldn't be able to get people to come and stay at their hotels right now anyway. So they offer rooms for individual quarantine people. So there's plenty of room when there's not enough hospital beds to quarantine the virus. Some countries have, and people in those countries have ignored what their governments told them to do, and more people die there, like in Italy. And this is hard, but this is the way people learn to cooperate with each other. Hoarding things is not the way to get through this. There's no shortage of manufacturing. It's just a way people hoard things creates a shortage, an artificial shortage. It isn't martial law in this country or anywhere. Maybe some other countries have declared that, but not here. It's just a way of state governors and the president and the government of the United States can deal with compelling people to stop acting in childish, foolish, fear-driven manners that create more harm than good. So they step in, and my view of it is very constructive, because it makes people all over the world set up precedents and set up circumstances to deal with such things when they happen in the future in a much more efficient and effective way after this. So, after this, people and governments will know better how to deal with this, and they won't panic. And that's a good thing, because it begins to get people to work together worldwide who wouldn't do it otherwise. People are very fear-driven. People are selfish and self-centered. They don't mean to be, but they're driven to act in a childish, foolish manner. And they hoard things, and that deprives other people of things, and it just creates more problems. So governments have to step in and stop that, at least, and make it mandatory that people don't hoard things. In stores in the States, if you get in line to get, they let one person in when one person comes out of a store. So there isn't a mass of people in these stores getting food. And they sanitize the carts, before you go in. It's really working. to curb this thing. All the kids in school or all the schools are closed because kids pick up diseases and spread it to parents faster than anybody. So keeping them home is a good thing for right now, for a short term. Because then this virus just dies away. So there's no shortage of products. Manufacturing plants are still working, trains are running, trucks are working. They just don't allow people to congregate in large numbers close together, even in manufacturing plants. Things are more sparse, moved wider away from each other, more protected, disinfected, that kind of thing. So there's signs in the States of stores beginning to restock empty shelves, that weren't available for many things like butter and eggs and toilet paper and paper towels, but they're beginning to catch up and people aren't hoarding as much because the government is preventing it. It's a shame that the governments have to prevent masses of people from hoarding things, from acting in a panicky way. But it's good because it forces both governments and people to work together worldwide for the good of all life and for the first time. If people want real disclosure about the nature of extraterrestrial life, good and bad, and how there's really no longer a threat from negative ETs on this planet anymore, people are suffering from the effects of extraterrestrial life on them that they don't even know existed because it's all classified still. Disclosure is underway on this planet because governments are being encouraged in no uncertain terms to disclose to the people of this planet. If they want to play among the stars and get the help from kind races, then they're going to have to help people on this earth recover their awareness of who they are as beings and the nature of life that exists in vast, huge, massive numbers, far more advanced than people on earth, out among the stars. And this crossing, this border, we're at a critical stage on earth where, the way people have created energy and the use of energy would destroy life on this planet. The misuse of it, I should say. The unconscious abuse of their own ecology and nature, poisoning their own water systems and air. This is a place many world systems came to and crossed a threshold point where beings from other worlds stepped in to help them make this transition into a more evolved world race without self-destruction. I'm going to put that out. Just a moment. Okay. Through the phones down the hall. We're on a radio show, so one of the things I forgot to do, that's okay. We took care of it. The one thing I encourage people to do on the radio show or in any public presentation that I do with you or anyone is to drop fear like the lead brick that it is. In other words, there's no constructive use. Hold on a second. Anyway, so we're back here encouraging people to pull up their bootstraps, act like mature beings, stop panicking, and cooperate with everyone, including governments, because they're not there to take over the world. This is not the end of the world. Fear tells people many things that are incorrect and drives them to make mistakes. It's negative in nature. So any kind of fear, decisions made based on fear will always and in every case be incorrect. I'll state that again. Any decisions based on fear will be incorrect and are harmful. There's no constructive good can ever come out of making decisions based on fear, whether it's governments or people. People find this out after they've made decisions based on fear and things get worse in their lives or more negative things happen. What people call zero-point energy, scientists on Earth, or toroidal energy, the energy of the universe, virtually packs the void, a so-called void of space between planets and worlds and suns and stars and galaxies in different dimensions. It is a living energy that us as human beings are in telepathic connection with, whether people are aware of it on Earth or not. And it actually, to the Atma, the real being, what we call soul on Earth, which is a spherical type of energy, which is how planets and moons and stars are patterned after their creators. The spherical form is universal. The Atma, or soul, that people talk about on Earth without knowing what it is or what it looks like really, actually has a shape and structure. It's spherical. It is not made of more dense material like atoms and DNA and protons and electrons and, quantums and all that kind of stuff. Those are elements of matter and energy relative to the lower dimensions of time and space. They are not relative to what the energy is that makes up an individual Atma like us, that runs physical bodies. People on Earth are not trained or taught this growing up, so why would they be familiar with it or feel safe with it or accustomed to working with it when they're adults? They aren't trained it. The brain in their body that they grew up with wasn't ever taught any of this. The brain you have grew up in this life isn't taught past lives or the worlds you've lived on prior to being incarnated on this planet. So why would it know this stuff? Well, it doesn't. The being that runs a body on Earth isn't a physical brain or body. The human body on Earth wouldn't work at all. The brain wouldn't work, your eyes wouldn't work, it wouldn't even move unless an entity was running it, activating it. It's just a DNA type of machine that runs at 98.7 degrees Fahrenheit, carbon-based. It's DNA that allows a being to run higher faculties through it. The brain doesn't create imagination. When you daydream, when a person looks out a window and daydreams and sees a waterfall or being at the beach instead of in school or, stuck in a boring job or something, they think they're making this up in their brain. But this isn't true. They're actually seeing it somewhere in the universe, in other realities and other dimensions, but they're not conscious of it anymore on Earth. Many beings out in the universe are, human included. We talk about this issue of disclosure all the time. Disclosure on Earth is not something that will be forced on people. Governments are leery of doing it because of the way people panic, even from this flu virus. If people want to be free in this universe and play among the stars and have the technology given to us from kind races that are more evolved than us, there's a lot of change that's going to happen on this world. The real truth about the nature of how vast life is out there, not just in the physical galaxies that people see through the Hubble telescope or radio telescopes, but in many dimensional levels. It's going to change things on this earth in ways people are frightened about doing it. Changes the way people limit themselves through religious belief instead of really knowing things for themselves spiritually or as individuals. Like, for instance, people on Earth don't yet know that their purpose for existing as the Atma, or being what they call soul, is to be a fully trustworthy, conscious co-creator with the source behind all life. That source is way beyond what people on Earth understand. But the Atma that runs human bodies on Earth, the spherical Atma, the soul, is capable of understanding and knowing what that source is, even co-creating with it. So our purpose as beings is to co-create with that source, new ways of doing things for the uplifting benefit of all life, not just life on Earth, all life. That's our true nature. Just because a mass of people on this planet, in or out of governments, classified or not, no longer know this doesn't mean it isn't true. It's been suppressed in them one way or another in galactic history, a history they don't know about. People on Earth don't even know about a true history of Earth, which goes back 65 million years. Races from the stars have been coming here in one scenario or form after another since the dinosaurs were made extinct on this planet. Human beings did not spring out of the ground as cavemen during the time of the dinosaurs. They didn't become Neanderthal and Cro-Magnon man, which are two humanoid extinct species on this planet. They are not part of what we are. And they didn't originate on this planet either. They were brought here. So whereas every type of human being represented on this earth was brought here at one time or another. They evolved on other world systems. Human beings evolved on other world systems. Can you imagine how much change that would bring for the betterment of this world should everyone on earth become aware in a way where they can't deny it, that this is true? If they really want to know what divine spirit is, praying to it all day to fulfill your needs is not what it's about. This living energy that packs the void of space actually allows planets and worlds and suns to float in it. It's one energy. The more advanced races understand it is one energy and that it's not nuclear in nature. It doesn't obey the laws of physics as scientists think it should. So the people that run the CERN Super Collider, the Large Hadron Collider in CERN, Switzerland, have determined that it's there behind matter. It isn't nuclear, but they don't really know how it works or what it is. So they call it the God particle. Appropriately, I suppose. People on earth by tyrant kings have been compelled through priests they controlled throughout the history, most recent 10,000-year history here, to worship a supreme being that demands worship, or else you get the devil, the pitchfork up your keister. That's fear of something they should not be fearing, because that source, the real source, never required that we worship it in the first place. This omnipresent force that people call divine spirit is a co-creator with us. We're meant to understand how to co-create. Imagine new things for the benefit of all life into it, and then it's the one power that fulfills or brings into creation all that we imagine, good and bad, positive and negative. We're meant to understand how to master the negative elements and put them aside, so that our imagination is only used to create that which will be of an uplifting benefit to all life, not just life on earth, all life in the grand multidimensional creation. There are many levels of heaven, so to speak, with beings living in bodies on them, higher frequencies of matter that people have been made to forget, that exist below the void known to most Buddhist monks and certain esoteric groups on earth. Many of them believe the void is it. There's nothing beyond that. This is not correct at all. The void is a barrier between positive and negative split in energy, create the worlds of time and space, and energy that's in the upper worlds, which is pure positive. There's no time and space there. We, you, Perry, and myself, and the listeners to this radio show, all life on this world and other worlds in the entire multiverse, did not get created in the worlds of time and space. The Atma, the soul, the spiritual being, came into existence in the upper worlds long before the worlds of time and space were even created, which makes all of us pretty ancient, not as bodies and brains, but as the Atma itself. It is energy, but not as people on earth yet understand. It is energy, but it's not nuclear or atomic. It isn't like hydrogen bombs going off on the sun. You could put a hydrogen bomb on one of us hovering above the body that runs a body and set it off. It wouldn't hurt us at all. The body would be destroyed, but you would not. This understanding exists amongst the more advanced races that travel the stars in the physical universe. My purpose for being on this world at this time is to bring or herald or help people make the bridge, the steps they need to take, so that full disclosure of life beyond this world, not just in other planets, but in higher dimensions, can be revealed or awakened in people on this planet. All people, governments, classified, Queen of England, it doesn't matter. We're all in this together. Races from the stars that are tyrant would have come here and wiped most of the population out and dominated this world with ruthless force, had beings not that are kind and very advanced not policed this from happening in the last 65 years. We have not had a nuclear war on this planet because beings from other worlds did intervene to shut down launch computers when they attempted a nuclear war. They showed them they could do this. They don't want to run governments here. That'd be stupid. Anybody want to come and straighten this mess out? No. They need to enlighten people here, or wake them up enough to drop fear so that we can sort it out amongst ourselves with their help. And then they can land all over the planet. There's no problem. But they're not going to land here when people are running around panically hoarding toilet paper because of a virus. That has to stop first. So they're working with people when they're out of their bodies at night. What do I mean by that? It means everyone, whether they know it or not, I don't care what faith they're in or what religion they're in or how dedicated they are, they leave their body every night. When the body ceases to function, they have to leave it permanently anyway. But they do it every night. They put the body to sleep, a complex process that involves the being, the Atma, running something through the pineal gland in the center of the brain to secrete serotonin, make melatonin. It puts the body on automatic and it goes to sleep, what I call the trance state of sleep. It's not hypnotic. People do it every night. They grow up on a planet from childhood with no understanding about bringing back, when they return to that body in the morning, what they've done and what they've seen and known. So they naturally identify with the body going to sleep and go unconscious with it. It doesn't mean they're not experiencing things every night. It just means they've never learned how to use the higher faculties of being to bring that awareness back to Earth. Now, on other worlds, people do this every day. Children do it. When people on Earth become aware of this fact, they'll be able to make progress very quickly to do this also, because we're human beings as well. And we have this ability, even though it's been subconsciously suppressed. DNA in the genomes of the DNA that structure what comprises physical forms on Earth, called human, was altered or manipulated in ways that were negative in galactic history. And it can be straightened out as well, so that we use 100% of the developed brain we have instead of 6 to 10 that people say we're using right now. That makes no sense. If you've got a fully developed brain, why would you only use 6 to 10% of it? Fear keeps people from using a more productive amount of that brain in their skull. If 100% of it is being used, higher faculties of being could be transmitted through that body. And awareness of lives in other worlds and other realities could be brought to the consciousness of the human being on Earth. But it has to be conditioned and prepared for such wisdom and knowledge. And it hasn't been. The people on Earth aren't prepared this way growing up on this planet at all. So the work of beings from other worlds first involves working with people when they're out of their bodies at night, when they're in a more expanded state of consciousness and less fearful of losing the body. It's safely asleep back on Earth. They can be approached by beings that are kind and wondrous and help to see the truth about life, the true nature of the grand multidimensional universe and all the life that exists in it. These heavens people blab about on Earth all the time without understanding them are much greater in expanse of size and capability than people on Earth. The 4 lower dimensions below the void known to certain esoteric groups on Earth, like the astral, physical, astral, causal, mental, and etheric planes, are divisions, major divisions of creation that vibrate at higher molecular time rates. There's 144 parallel dimensions in each division. It isn't infinite, like some people have projected, just unlimited amounts of parallel dimensions. No. But it's vast enough for people even to comprehend one of them. All the billions of galaxies and ones they see, there are levels to that before you even get to the astral plane. And there's negativity and wars in all those higher heavens below the void. Above the void in the upper worlds, there's no negativity at all. It never existed there. And it's taken a great deal of time to get the beings there aware that they need to change or eliminate this thing we call the experiment of evil. It is the experiment of placing beings in bodies to be affected by positive and negative things that get them to imagine positive and negative things during each and every day. And when they imagine something positive and negative, both, it goes into this omnipresent living force they call divine spirit, and it co-creates it for us. It's completely unbiased. So people end up trapping themselves in their own positive and negative opposing forces that neutralize energy and ground it to the earth. The correct use of the creative imagination is a faculty of the Atma, not a brain. There is no motion picture camera or motion picture projector screen in the brain in which you, the being, can see things. It isn't designed to do that. That's not the purpose of the brain. The actual being running a body is what's imagining this stuff, either for good or worse, without realizing it. And it's a separate function and capability than the human brain and body. When people understand this secret and really get it, great change is in store for them. If people utilize the creative imagination to only imagine that which will be of benefit to all life and nothing ever negative, no negative emotions, which they have the ability to control, to master under the right conditions, this world will change virtually overnight. It cannot change with the influence of kind extraterrestrials without the involvement of the mass of people asking for it. There are beings who came to this world to talk with government people 65 or more years ago to offer this technology from the stars to help people understand a much deeper enlightenment side of themselves than they knew existed. And they were turned down. It wasn't forced on people. And it's taken a long time for this process to reach a point at which people could make this transition into greater consciousness and being accepted into an organization of world systems where they can play among the stars and be trusted with it. People on Earth are not trustworthy. Governments don't even get along. You can't be trusted to go play among the stars and not carry all their biases and prejudice and religious battles and differences out there and throw it and project it on races that are far more advanced than all that nonsense, who really understand the source of life, that they're meant to be co-creators with it, not worshipers of it, slaves of it. No, this is all wrong. And people on Earth are in terror, fear. If they don't follow a certain thing and do a certain thing, they're told to worship God, or else they go to hell or some other thing happens to them. That all was created by tyrant kings controlling priests on this planet. And if anybody has eyes and ears open to see it, they can see it clearly was done this way. So it isn't that there isn't a source behind all life or a supreme being, but it's not a supreme dude on a throne with a beard dictating things to people, like many people believe. It is a source, a nexus of energy in which all beings, all Atmas that run bodies in all dimensions are connected together. And it creates a presence that you could even speak with there. But it isn't a tyrant. It never required that we worship it, only that we respect it in each other and all life in the grand multidimensional creation. People cannot play in the universe freely if they can't respect the life that's there. And people on Earth don't even know if life exists on other planets yet. So how are they going to respect it? Disclosure has to do with that, Perry. Respecting life so much more that exists than you can imagine than is on this earth. So do you have any questions for me that you think your listening audience may want to know about, or anything you want to say that I might be able to help answer? You have to turn on your mic.
I'd like you to talk about free will. You know, people on this planet might misunderstanding the real meaning of free will.
Okay. If a person's born on a planet like this, and they don't remember who or what they are that isn't a physical body that can't be killed. It's energy, but not as they understand it. And they grow up in a world society that teaches them nothing about life on other worlds or higher dimensions. I mean, literally nothing of any practical nature. Then they grow up as adults in fear of death because they think they're a physical body that can be destroyed. So there's that fear. The manipulation of extraterrestrials in the past that suppressed, misdirecting, fear-ridden programs in their what they call the subconscious mind. It's artificial. It isn't the natural part of the Atma, a subconscious mind. Beings on other worlds who are free do not have subconscious minds at all, human as well. When people on Earth discover this, when it's fully disclosed, then the beings that have these capabilities can share that with us. But not when people are terrorized of life beyond this world. Not when they're terrorized of the death of a body. Because no being that runs a body has ever been a body. What people call soul, or what beings from other worlds call the Atma, like an atom of the source itself, has a shape and form to it. And it has the same energy that comprises it as the supreme source itself, identical in every way. Even the faculties of creation are identical on a smaller scale. Individual beings are like a drop of pure water of this energy in a mighty ocean of it, surrounding a center. And that place exists above the void known to certain esoteric groups on Earth. It actually exists. It isn't in the lower dimensions of time and space at all. All of us come from there originally to explore the lower worlds, to take on bodies, to feel and smell and taste and experience things. We were meant to come back to that source and share what we've learned, insights, so that we can help solve the bigger problems of creation. The bigger problems of creation are, how do we make the lower worlds of time and space mirrors of the upper worlds that don't have negativity in them? This has been the purpose for creation all along. The experiment of negative and positive energy in the lower planes and the way people inhabited bodies and got trapped in the lower worlds over a great period of time, many lives, until they forgot all about how to cross that void and go back home, has left a good part of the creation itself stultified or stilted, held back, so that it cannot change from what it is right now into something more grand and wonderful. All of us collectively make up the Supreme Being. And we are responsible for the conditions of this world or any world. Because if you go back far enough in history of each individual Atma, it existed before time and space was created. And we're responsible collectively for the way it works well or does not work. And this means for people to have real freedom, they have to accept the responsibility as well that goes with freedom. Free will, true free will, means that you're aware of what you are as a being, not a body, and your purpose for co-creating with the source behind all life. That is what some people call self and God realization. It just means that you know what you are that isn't physical. From life to life, you've wakened it up, and that you know you're supposed to co-create new ways of doing things with the source. The real purpose for the existence of the Atma, soul, is for that reason. Just because people don't know it anymore on Earth and have been made to forget it by tyrants and who knows what all in galactic history, doesn't mean they're not capable of recovering this awareness, because it dwells in them already. It's never gone away. It might be suppressed. They would be in terror of remembering it. Most people are afraid to leave their body because they think some goblin or demon will get them. The fact is they've already been got. They're on Earth what they think is free will, yet they can't remember who they are or what they knew before they were born here. How can you make good decisions towards your own evolution as a being if you can't remember any of the lives or wisdom you had prior to this life? It's not possible. So people on Earth don't have the free will they think they have. They're capable of recovering it. And there are beings I work with from other worlds that want to help people do just that. All people on Earth. Not just some groups. No favoritism. Everyone. Governments, classified, mass of people. We're all in this together. And if we're going to survive on this world in physical forms like human and make this transition from self-destruction into an elevated world system, we are going to require the assistance of more advanced beings than exist on this planet, period. Or we won't get there. Think of it this way. When a world reaches a place like Earth is now, where they're starting to explore space, they either annihilate themselves or survive, one way or the other. Tyrants would try to come here covertly behind everybody's backs and make deals to get resources and kill off most of the populace. 500 million people is easier to control and dominate than 7 billion. Tyrants did try to do this, sneaking in, and they were stopped. Not by people on Earth, not by us. So beings have been out in the universe intervening, but only to the degree that they want to help us recover and wake up and mature and grow up for ourselves. In which case we can be responsible to accept the technology and the friendship they would offer. They're not going to give it to people and cure all diseases if people are still subconsciously driven by fear, because they would recreate the problems on this planet that polluted this world in the first place. And they would lose the gifts of technology, cures for cancer, living 1,000 years. It just wouldn't work. You can't give that to unconscious children who are not mature enough to go out and play in the universe, not just in the physical universe, but to go into the higher realities and co-create with the source itself. There are many races among the stars that travel in ships that can also leave their bodies consciously and come to Earth before the ship even arrives. It's not a physical thing. It's not a psychic thing. It's not an astral body. It's not an emotional body where all emotion comes from the life a person's living in the astral plane. The Atma isn't made of lower plane energy. It is made of higher plane energy. It cannot be destroyed by weapons or technology or demons or anything else. There's not a single Atma or soul that's ever been destroyed in the history of creation. Did you know that? Never. It's not physical. And you can have people running bodies that are demonic or that kind of thing, and you can destroy their bodies, but not the being. Beings recover their sanity and enlightenment when they drop focusing their imagination on fear and negative emotions and negative imagination. When they start turning a free will, true free will, to utilize their imagination, their ability to imagine anything for the good of all life, a planet gets transformed. And this is what my work is about. It's what the Sayres Agenda book is about, and why it was written. The techniques in the back are about that. It was written with the collaboration of beings, very advanced, loving beings from other worlds. I didn't originate here. I came here on a mission and was caught and thrown into this body when it was about 3. The being was kicked out. If you want to call me a walk-in, you go ahead and do that. But here's the point. All people are walk-ins. They walked into the baby body here and got born with no memory. They're all walk-ins, and they're all extraterrestrial in nature, meaning human beings in this form never evolved on this world in the first place. They evolved billions of years ago out among the stars. The universe is really ancient as far as time and space is concerned. That beings could be brought so low in their comprehension of things that they think they're a body on a planet called Earth, wondering if life exists anywhere out amongst trillions of galaxies on multiple dimensions, is pretty absurd. You can't be more ignorant than that. That's as far down as it gets. So for people on Earth, the only way to go now is up. Upward in a spiral of enlightenment and change. Because they first need to recover what they are as a being and what they once knew with certainty. Not with doubt and speculation and theory and fear, negative emotional states, but really knowing it directly for themselves. So this work is about having and encouraging people to have and sharing with them the ways to have direct experience. Faith is a good place to start but a terrible place to end up. It's better that faith lead to direct experience of what people believe in, whether it's a supreme being or a higher heaven or whatever. But they need to have conscious experience about such things off planet, out of body, beyond this earth, before their physical body dies. Why? Because when they die, they take with them whatever they're imagining at the time. And if it's fear and terror of death and other things, they're going to go out of their body and meet with beings by spiritual law, or called the law of physics. Every action creates an equal but opposite reaction, whether it's thought or emotion. And if people are full of wanting good things for their life and their family, but are terrified of the present and the future of this earth, they're creating a dichotomy, opposing forces. And they're going to take that with them when they leave the body, when it ceases to function. And then they'll create whatever they're imagining. Usually that compels people to go back and seek the shelter of another body, and they reincarnate with no memory on earth again. That is not progress. That is stultification. That retards the evolution of all things and all beings. So earth is really at a crossroads to recover awareness of all that I'm sharing with you now. It's a fact. Human beings have the capability not only to leave their bodies before it dies, but to remember who they are and what their purpose for existing really is. And it's much more grand and wondrous than they've been told on this planet. So they might as well start hearing it from someplace, because my work is telepathic when I'm talking to you. And I work with vast numbers of beings not from this world that are telepathic, not psychic. I'm not putting down psychics, but we don't work with the positive and negative streams of the lower dimensions of time and space. We work with telepathy, which is working from the pure core energy of a being to the pure core energy that supports the whole multidimensional creation, which is not material in nature or nuclear or atomic. It is energy. Beings that traverse the stars and go to parallel dimensions in ships have learned how to work with that energy that fills the void of space, because it isn't a void at all. Human eyes on Earth can only see a small spectrum of light and frequencies. The actual light that fills the void of space between planets and stars, which appears to be black or without light or dark, in Hubble's telescope images and radio images of outer space and other galaxies and all that, time-lapse photography. It's actually a white golden light, brilliantly luminous, just floating there, supporting everything. Gravity, planets whirl on their axis to create suspension, to float in this ether, this energy. And in order to traverse vast areas of space, this energy, which is not limited to the speed of light, and isn't even the speed of light, and isn't atomic in nature, has to be worked with if they want to go much faster than the speed of light and get around creation. More advanced races have figured this out. Tyrant races can do it, but they steal technology from kind races that are less capable of defending themselves. Negative beings and tyrants do not create new technology. They steal it from others who do. Remember this, it's very important. They steal it by force from others who do. And it's policed and has been always policed out there. There have been wars in our universe, in our galaxy. The last one ended 500,000 years ago. There isn't one out there right now. If there were, nobody would be existing on this planet. Those negative influences would have ravaged this place if they could. We haven't had nuclear war because of the decisions of people on Earth in classified communities. We haven't had nuclear war because of the influence of beings who stepped in to stop it when we would have destroyed ourselves. We're not alone in the universe. The sooner people find that out, the better off they're going to be in every way, shape, and form on this planet or any world. Any other questions, Perry, you might want to ask? Free will versus no free will. If you're born on a planet with no memory, people just assuage their egos. They just try to feel good about themselves. I don't blame them by saying it's God's will, a God they don't even know. They have to have faith in it, but they don't know it. And it's its will that you come here with no memory, dumber than a brick, grow up in a body with a new brain, and then you're supposed to get it right? Get what right? How can you get anything right if you don't bring the momentum of eternity behind you and wisdom to know how to make better choices? Well, you can't. So, real free will is knowing what you are as a being, spherical. It's like that thing on your shelf back there, right? It has a structure, it has the spectrum of light and color in it. Each of these little teardrops in it are a different higher faculty of being. It's really what soul or the Atma looks like, what you really are, not the physical body. This is what's created in the image of the source. That, not this. This is just a DNA body amongst many human and humanoid and other races that beings like that can run. That's what we really are.
We are all spheres.
Have people ever asked themselves, why are planets round and suns round, moons round? Basically, because they're made after the image of their creators. Human bodies are able to walk around with gravity on surfaces of worlds, and beings can run them and gain experience and different levels of vibration of time and space, whether it's ocean worlds or desert worlds, or, they can have sex, or they can do whatever, they can have experience. But the purpose for it originally was to bring that back to the source from whence you came and deliver that experience for the good of all life. People have not been doing that. They've not been returning. And for billions of years, they haven't, most people. That's all changing now, because the consciousness that is in the upper worlds beyond the void has changed recently, permanently in a certain new way. They had to figure out how to retire evil as an experiment in the lower worlds by replacing it with something that actually works to free beings from subconscious fear. And this is the work that's underway now by masses of beings from the stars. And it's moving in one direction through this solar system. It cannot be avoided. And I don't care who's in power on Earth. They're going to have to cooperate with this for their own good. So we don't destroy ourselves. There are beings among the stars who won't allow us to destroy ourselves because we would harm life in other parallel dimensions and other realities people on Earth don't even know exist in a nuclear war. And they're not going to tolerate that. They're not going to allow it. There are governments on this planet classified that already know they're not going to be allowed to do that. At some point, they're going to have to tell the people this as well. It's inevitable. So, my view of the future of this life and life on this world is not in any way, shape, or form negative. I don't look with fear or debate or theory or speculation or any of that nonsense. People have been doing that for thousands of years and hasn't changed anything on this earth whatsoever. It's nearly destroyed it. Debate and controversy, religious differences and all that. But it hasn't been destroyed. Whole civilizations have fallen. There have been histories on this planet that have been completely wiped out, all life on the earth, most of it, and then had to be reseeded from the stars many times. The poles of this planet flipped regularly like clockwork every 100,000 years. That too was recently stopped permanently. So the people on Earth have a chance to live for millions of years as a culture and join others among the stars. First things first, some things had to change. So that would be free will, knowing who you are and what your purpose is for existing. It isn't to serve a tyrant God who demands worship and gives little in return. That is the path of tyrants. Anybody who has a heart and feels love for all life would know this is true. Everything else is brainwashing, basically. And it's keeping people from Earth from really knowing the source behind all life and co-creating with it. Many other beings enjoy this kind of living, and they live much longer lives and much happier lives. I would say that, and I've used this example before, children on many advanced human worlds that exist out in the Milky Way galaxy today, just this one galaxy, generally have, by the time they're 10-year-olds, they have the equivalency of 10 PhDs compared to one person on this earth, because they use 100% of the brain and the DNA in the body they run. They get out of their bodies. Their parents and the governments encourage this from childhood. They don't overpopulate their planets. They know the beings that are going to come to them and be born, and it's set up in a different way than just people running around overpopulating everything out of control. This is normal for people in other worlds, and it's going to be normal for people here at some point.
At some point.
Well, you know, people panic and hoard things because of a flu scare. Then the positive side of this is really that governments around the world and people are being compelled to work together for the first time for the common good. And that's good because it prepares people for disclosure. It sets up the conditions that governments can utilize to gradually disclose the truth they've been suppressing from the mass of people for so many decades. It needs to be done in a non-destructive, non-hoarding, non-creating artificial shortages kind of way. Common sense. Beings from the stars and from other worlds know how to do this. They know this. People on Earth don't know how to do this yet, so they need to be instructed. It's generally better to instruct them when they're out of their bodies at night, when they're among friends and feel safe and they're not threatened by bad ETs and demons and all that stuff. Where the environment is protected, where they can be shown the truth they've been denied on Earth. And when they wake up in the morning, they're just more expanded, more conscious, less fear-ridden people. Then you can get people to cooperate and make this change. Is that pretty clear, I think?
So before we go on the journey, I would like to share the experience with the audience. I have known you for like more than 2 years, and I have learned a lot from you and from the being friends from out of time, from many dimensions. Okay, all the experiences that I have is all wonderful, and I have learned a lot and dropped many fears in life, you know. And then I live happier, and then I would like everybody, you know, do like Scott said, read the book and go on journey, you know, and keep practicing, and then one day.
Let me I'll do this because I know you would encourage it. Yeah, I know you would encourage this, or I just forget about it, but this isn't a time, you know, when people are at home and quarantined, it's a good time for them to make great advances in awareness. Instead of just being mindlessly entertained by films, both good and bad, you know, good ETs, bad ETs, and all this stuff, and Marvel comics and all that stuff. And that's fine, it's good entertainment, but it doesn't really help people change because they're not designed specifically to do that. Sometimes some filmmakers do it inadvertently, but not fully conscious as they could be. So the film business has great potential to free this planet if filmmakers are more conscious in the process. So, the Savory's agenda. This is just a prototype. That's why this black strip here is not for resale, it says on that. But you can see what a cylindrical ship from the Galactic Alliance looks like. That's over 1 mile long. It's one of the smaller ones. The spacecraft that are these 3 semi-spheric pods on the bottom are scout craft. These are more modern ones than people know about in general. In the back of this book, this is the planet Saturn. These are the ice rings in the water that make up the rings of Saturn. And this is stationed there in our solar system. It's permanently stationed here until it's no longer needed. And it does a policing action among other ships to keep negative ETs outside of our solar system today. Our solar system, the entire solar system is quarantined, not by people on Earth. Because people on Earth, as they are, driven by fear, would do very destructive things if they took their ships out among the stars amongst more advanced and evolved races, many of them human, who aren't going to tolerate that in the first place. Doesn't matter how much technology people on Earth develop, they're not going to be allowed to play among the stars with others the way we are. We're too dangerous. Two governments don't even get along, much less two religions or anything else. That's not going to work for a more advanced planet. You can't have those biases and prejudices thrown out there and vomited out on other beings who are more advanced, who really understand the source beyond all life as a practical experience, not just faith. We're going to have to grow up if we really want to explore the heavens and the planets. There's a special technique section at the back of this book. It's quite lengthy. There's a special technique for the prologue and all 29 chapters that work with the primordial sound, omnipresent, living energy, the one I talked about in the void of space. It works all the way up through the dimensions. This one energy is one power. We as individual Atmas do not have the power to create. We have the power to imagine what this one power will create for us. It is a co-creator with us. And we're expected to one day master the correct use of this imagination for the good of all life. Duh. I mean, it's common sense, really, if you think about it. Couldn't be any other way, really. So this hue sound did not originate on Earth. It's not owned or patented or possessed or copywritten, or it can't be manipulated by any organization, religious, philosophical, or metaphysical on this planet. It didn't originate in this galaxy or in the lower dimensions. And it runs as a sound and light, a type of one frequency through all of creation, vibrating on different levels. The energy that vibrates behind the physical universe and all 144 parallel dimensions in it, and all the planets and galaxies and all that, it's big. It's really big. It is a telepathic medium for beings like us. We move and travel and have our being in it and on it. If I want to go to Mars and see what's there, then all I have to do is imagine, because I've been there, what it looks like. You have to have a picture, an image of the place you want to go to. Send that into this omnipresent spirit, and it will take you there. And you will have good or bad experiences there according to your imagination. So if you want wondrous experiences of kindness and meet all the right beings and avoid and be safe, avoid any harm, then you need to imagine things without fear. It's very simple. So if I want to imagine something, I will go into the hue. I make a telepathic conscious connection to that primordial, omnipresent frequency under everything, behind everything. I connect into it, and then I'm there, wherever that is. If I want to imagine what it's like to be free of all negativity and negative nature, and be above the void known to esoteric groups on Earth, and play in the worlds where we co-create new ways of doing things that are tested, and if they work, they're implemented in the lower worlds of time and space, then I have to know at least the basics of what it looks like to be there in order to go there. Or this omnipresent spirit people pray to will not take them anywhere. It is completely unbiased, and it doesn't obey the whims of people who pray to it to ask for every little selfish desire they have. It's meant for us to co-create with it the conditions that surround us. This is important because it's true. The energy that is packed between planets in space works on the principle in the lower dimensions of time and space in one way. Every action creates an equal but opposite reaction. This means what you think or what you imagine and what you feel, positive or negative, is reflected back upon you. It's a mirror. So if we work the imagination correctly, we're going to create a heaven for ourselves, even on this backward planet, until it changes and catches up with us. This is a principle of the higher worlds. So those of us who have awareness of this serve as boots on the ground to bring about, to hold a stable energy field into this world until people get it, catch on to it. The beings I work with, like Ambassador Turellian, who's humanoid from a very ancient human race, They were 18 to 25 feet tall, giants compared to people on Earth, when they had physical bodies over 1 billion years ago. And they were responsible for seeding human and humanoid and other bipedal types of life that travel the stars way back then. They helped develop higher forms of DNA so the Atma, the spherical us, could run higher faculties of wisdom of eternity through these bodies, gain experience, and take it back. They were instrumental in seeding life on many world systems and many galaxies, both here and in the next heaven, the astral plane, where all emotion comes from. It means in that dimension, all matter is moved through feeling. You feel something, it moves it. It's much more instant creativity there than we work here. In the physical universe, things are moved through effort, through pushing things around, manipulating things. It's different in the upper realities below the void. In the causal plane, things are moved through cause and effect, more of a mental and emotional combination. In the mental plane, things are moved through thought. As soon as you think something, it moves something. And the etheric plane, which is a higher level of the mental plane, below the void known to most Buddhist monks and other esoteric groups. It's not an insult to Buddhist monks. They're very disciplined. It just means that if they've been taught that there's nothing beyond the void, they are missing most of the journey. If they can't imagine and don't understand there is other realities above that, they won't go there. Simple as that. So, whatever you imagine in the etheric plane, which is just below this thing called the void, everything's moved there through subconscious. It means it's not subconscious, but to a person on Earth it is, because it's very close to pure energy. And things are moved more by the will of spirit or the imagination. When you get across that void into the upper worlds, nothing is moved or created except through the imagination. And you cannot bring any negative nature whatsoever across that void into the upper worlds. That's why the void is there. It's a barrier. Each of us as an individual spherical being has the ability to traverse across that void into the upper worlds. You cannot take a physical body on any of the lower planes there. You can't take an astral body there made of astral matter. People eat meat there and kill animals and die and have wars. This next heaven, people think is heaven. That's true all the way up into the etheric. There's much less negativity mixed with positive energy in the etheric plane, but it's not perfect. People live so long, millions of years, they have no motivation to return across the void and continue to do what they exist for, why they exist. So the lower dimensions become kind of a trap, an illusion that lures the being into staying into realms that it doesn't originate from, until it believes it's one of these bodies in these planes. And then it loses all memory of the upper worlds. This has to be recovered in people, and it's being recovered in the most advanced spacefaring races right now as we're speaking. And their motivation after going through that change is to help people on Earth. Many of them who are on Earth today with no awareness were relatives and friends and loved ones who disappeared from those worlds and were forced to incarnate here with no memory. They would like to solve this problem because the people who are unconscious on Earth today have great potential to co-create with the source behind all life new ways of doing things. And once they're liberated to do that, no one can tell what the creation will be like, but it'll be better than it is now. So this work is yes, it's about extraterrestrial life and technology, but it's much more than that. It goes much higher. It goes beyond the void into the upper worlds where we all came from originally. I'm only telling you the truth. I don't really give a hoot whether you accept it or not, because you're going to one day, relatively soon anyway. This kind of energy, this new ray I talk about, is a new consciousness streaming through what people call Holy Spirit. Now, Holy Spirit is really a living energy that co-creates with us. Good or bad, sorry folks, but we have to be responsible. if we expect to have freedom in the entire multidimensional universe. We have the capability to be free, and we're meant to be. But we have to be responsibly aware first in order to do it, so that we can play properly with others who are very advanced. So it's just that stuff simple, really. When I send this out through the vocal cords, I can also do it in my imagination silently. And I can take it in tone frequencies way up through the dimensions. Every being has this capability, they just don't know it yet on Earth. It sends out a round hole tone that basically opens a door through the pineal gland in the center of the brain, and the Atma hovering above this body that runs it connects into this omnipresent force, first in the void of space, then into the void between planets and galaxies in higher dimensions and higher realities, clear across the void and into the upper worlds, right into the heart and the source of the supreme, I don't want to call it supreme, prime creator, or the source behind and supporting all life that we all come from. It makes a connection there for the first time in perhaps billions of lives people have lived. And it begins a process of helping them recover to return and fulfill their commission, the purpose for their existence. The Atma cannot be destroyed. The individual is never harmed or deranged, or how do I put it? The Atma cannot be distorted itself, but an energy field can be placed around the Atma that makes it see distorted images of truth when it looks out into the multiverse. And this compels people to misdirect the use of their imagination in ways that trap them. Some tyrant beings learned this secret and put it to use out in the galaxy. And then they had to be policed, and then they had to be stopped, and then they had to be quarantined, like people are with this virus. So they can't come back here and begin to try to sneakily take over another world. That's left the people on Earth not only unconscious and unaware, but it's deprived them of the proper training from birth they should have had, so that they can be circumnavigating the grand multidimensional universe while they're running a body on Earth. They do it every night anyway, but they're not aware that they do it. That's all. I send out these tones in a series of higher tone levels in order to create a link with very wonderful beings like Ambassador Turellian of the Seres, who is a friend, a colleague, not from Earth. They immortalized their physical bodies over 1 billion years ago. That doesn't mean they made their bodies live to be 36 for 1 million years. It means they dematerialized the body itself, kept the genetic blueprint for that form they liked best, and then they just program it into one of the teardrops in the sphere that makes up their being, the Atma or soul. When they need the use of a body, they just imagine this DNA pattern into this omnipresent living force between all things, and it creates that form temporarily. So they don't have the burden of carrying around a physical body all day long like we do. Remember this, we have Seres DNA in all of us. So do all the extraterrestrial races among the stars of this and many other galaxies, one way or another. The Seres did not make tyrant races. They did that on their own long after the Seres helped them evolve to spacefaring capability. And then they went into the background to see what people would do with it. Consider the Seres more advanced scientists that work for the source behind all life. And we all know what we've done with it. It's not a pretty picture. So what is underway now in the hue, in this new ray, this new consciousness in the hue, cannot be reversed, and it's moving through across the void into the worlds of time and space and throughout galaxies and through star systems and moving through this planet. And as it progresses in a careful, safe manner, people on Earth will recover. All people. It's not going to protect anybody from dying or people getting, in a plane crash or somebody dies of a disease. But a majority of people have the opportunity, while they have a physical body, to go through this experience. Those that leave this life before that will go through the experience in another reality, but they'll go through it just the same. I'll begin these tones now to set up this journey, and then we'll go on a little journey beyond Earth into a few other realities close to home so that people can begin to see how imagination works and how you get around when you want to recover who you are and what you once knew. You 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 what these tones do, and I'll explain it very definitively and clearly while we're in this telepathic connection with each other. It's pure. There's no negative nature in it whatsoever. It cannot be compromised by negative beings or technology. Understand this. We are in the process of having the body go into the sleep state. It's a trance state. It just means the body's an automatic. You, the being, are putting it to sleep. It can be aware of your environment or birds chirping outside. It doesn't matter. It just means the Atma is listening to this through the physical form. But the physical form itself, the brain, is off. The eyes are closed. No light's coming in through the eyes. That part of the brain is not working. So when you imagine what I'm doing, when I'm sharing this with you, where we're going, what we're seeing, you, the Atma, above that body, beyond that body, are seeing it. This is a process of learning how to travel or journey beyond the physical body while your physical body's still alive, to recover who you are and what you know. This is a function of the Atma itself, or what people on Earth think of as soul. People on Earth do not have a soul. They are a soul or an Atma running a physical body. That's how it really is. This also works to have the astral body, a life you're living on the next major division of heaven, where all emotion comes from. A life you're living there, you can live 10,000 years there in a body. And that body, too, is laying down on a beach or on a cushion or somewhere and into the sleep state. Causal, mental, and etheric bodies are all doing the same thing simultaneously. Why? So the spherical being that runs all those forms on different dimensional levels to learn the most, to be a co-creator with the source, can journey beyond the void into the upper worlds, maybe for the first time in billions of years, maybe even billions of lives. This isn't about time and space. It's about who and what we are that is beyond time and space and always has been. Imagine someone you love and respect, you're grateful they are in your life, a person, place, or thing, but something which makes you glow inside. A child's smile, a beautiful hummingbird, a waterfall pouring down a cliff face by a snow-capped mountain in another reality, or a black sandy beach in Hawaii. Anywhere. The same thing you did as a child growing up when you would idly use daydreaming is when the body may be looking out at a blackboard in a schoolroom and be aware of what's being said to a degree, but the imagination, the person's inner vision, is seeing them out on a skateboard or at the beach or somewhere else. This is not something the brain is doing in the body. It's something the being running that body is doing by seeing and looking into the universe someplace else. First, imagine someone you love and respect, you're grateful in your life. This opens a doorway in the pineal gland, the center of the brain. It connects a link to the white core of your being as a spherical being hovering above it, so that you can put the body to sleep and stay alert and aware with me as the being. Same thing you do every night anyway, except you're making it productive now. When you're doing it during the day, not at night when you unconsciously put the body to sleep. This is a conscious co-creative journey. Imagine being above your body as a spherical being. Perry showed you the picture of this. And you're looking down on this body, just imagine it, effortlessly, easily. Just like you imagine a waterfall or eating a banana, anything, it's just imagine it. And you be kind, look down kindly on that body that you're running. And then be in the atmosphere at 10,000 feet, looking down on the city or town where you live. You can focus your awareness right through the roof and see your body sitting there or lying down, asleep, but you are not. Depending on where you place your attention, if you place it at the body, you'll hear things and feel things around you. If you place it up where we're going, then you'll forget about awareness of the body for a short time, and you'll be fully where we're going as a being. Imagine yourself now in space above planet Earth, outside of the negative packed energy that surrounds the atmosphere of planet Earth and all its people. You are in the pure void of space. And when you're up here as the Atma, you'll see myself standing next to a very tall being, human with long, slightly wavy hair, pointed ears, slightly like an elf, big bulbous blue eyes, human, but very tall, 18 feet. Kind of a white tunic like a Greek god. And he has two thumbs up, always putting out an energy, a consistent energy of support and maintaining a base under which we move until we can pick up on telepathically and recover what he's putting out for ourselves. I do the same thing in my own way. We are co-creators, Terrellian and myself and many others. The Seres departed this universe and other astral and physical universes long ago to allow people to evolve on their own, see what they do with it. And they went through a consciousness change fairly recently that inspired them to come back into this arena and help to be responsible for the younger races to make a change without destroying themselves. And this is new. In space, when you look out from the Atma, you see that space is not black at all. It's filled with a white golden light, packing the distance between the Earth and the Moon and the Sun and the billions of stars. You can see the polar ice caps of Earth. We are like the space shuttle. We're up in orbit above the planet. And all of us on this journey are in a circle of beings, spherical, surrounding Turellian. He operates as a central focal point so that we don't lose our focus of attention and drift off into all the things you can willy-nilly experience out in the universe. This is a focused journey for a purpose. And as a being, spherically, you can imagine a body that looks like you, about 36, perfectly, flawlessly healthy, standing in space out in front of this orb that you are. And this is so we can each see and recognize each other in the physical universe above planet Earth, so we know who it is that's here. And you can see me standing there about 36. I look like I do now, but much younger. In a perfectly healthy body, and we don't need to breathe oxygen here. This is a body that looks like you made of energy. It is non-physical matter. You don't feel heat and cold or radiation from the sun. You are in your true form, hovering above planet Earth. Why do we go here? To get above the negative nature of what's in the atmosphere of planet Earth and its people. We come into an arena where that negative nature does not exist. It's kept within the atmosphere of the planet. There are some other beings that are going to join us on this journey. One of them is named Master Ramu, and he's a master teacher. This does not mean he's not like teachers or gurus on Earth. He puts out an energy field that mirrors your true nature, so that the more you're around such beings, the more you remember. It's not a negative nature at all. It's a benevolent, kind nature. And he holds a crystal staff made of quartz. At least that's what it appears like here. It's about 6 feet tall with the life for eternal life, a symbol for eternal life, like the Egyptian Ankh, a cross with an oval hole in the center at the top of this staff. It's a device. He has a physical body stationed in a parallel dimension on Earth that's over 500 years old, unaged. And he's here on this journey to encourage us to go further. He's not here to invade your psychic space or, read your mind without your co-creative permission or anything like that. And there's another being named Opelum, who is about 6 feet tall. I should describe this Ramu first. He has a black short cropped beard and short curly black hair, a maroon robe, simple sandals, swarthy skin. And this other being standing to the other side, to the right of Turellian and myself, is named Opelum, and he has pale blue skin. He's humanoid, slightly pointed ears like an elf, and long, shiny, glistening black hair, and beautiful emerald green eyes. And he looks up his neck. You can see 3 little gill slits under here. You wouldn't even notice if he didn't lift his neck. And he holds up a hand. You can see a little web between his fingers. They evolved as humans on a mostly water-covered world, live in dome cities on a few islands near the equator, and in dome cities under the ocean. They evolved with the ability to breathe on land or underwater. They are very ancient. This being, Opelum, has a physical body on his world, unaged after 500,000 years. They were the founding sponsors of the entire Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds which is centered near the galactic core of the Milky Way galaxy. And it was the Say rays that helped them evolve to where they are. There's also a being named Etta, who is a silica-based creature who evolved under in extinct volcanic caverns, self-luminous and ecologically self-contained ecosystems on Oceania, where Opelin comes from. And this organic silica-based creature, not carbon-based, evolved with the ability to defy gravity and fly through the air. He's about 3 feet long from the tip of his snout to his tail, strong arms and hind legs, with dexterous hands and fingers and toes like a human. Big bulbous blue eyes. When his mouth is closed, it looks like he's amused about something. His tail is glowing like crystal opal in bright sunlight from the tip to the root of the tail. And he's levitating here to show you what his body, he actually has one, what it's capable of doing. And he's been around for more than 500,000 years too. He's a master teacher, and he's not human. He is courageous to a fault, exemplifies the finest qualities of the most advanced human beings, and he's not even human. And he's here to go on this journey with us so that people can become aware of the kind, wondrous life, to some degree, that exists beyond Earth, that is ready, willing, and able to assist us to recover true free will and who we are, if we are courageous enough to ask them. You're going to see another couple appear, 10 feet tall, standing off to the left and in the foreground, looking at all of you on this journey who are in a circle around Turelian, looking at Earth with its polar ice caps and its barren meteor-cratered moon. And they are 10 feet tall, the man a little taller, and they have what kind of an ivory white skin, long silver hair, looks like silver metal, and violet eyes. They have longer fingers and arms and legs than we have, but they're very elegant, like swans. And they are showing you, a man and a woman, what they look like on their home world, which is on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy. And these two are the leaders of world systems covering a little more than half the Milky Way galaxy. They've never had war in that part of space. The bodies they're showing you are 3.5 million years old, unaged on their planet. That's a different kind of immortalization. It means they mastered genetic science. They turn on certain genomes in the DNA, they don't age. There's no disease. And behind them, you can see beautiful radiant spheres like us, the real them, running these appearances of bodies are made of energy. These are master teachers. They're going with us to where they go all the time to instruct people like us in the ways of recall and remembering, how to use our higher faculties to recover what we were aware of before time and space was created, so that we can journey back to that source and complete our purpose for existing, to co-create with the source new ways of doing things for the uplifting benefit of all life, not just life on Earth, mind you. In order to respect the source of all life and all life, we have to be aware of what the nature of all that life is in the entire multidimensional creation. As the Atma, we are capable of doing this. As a brain and body in one lifetime, we are not. That is a form we run on Earth. It's not the only form we run as an Atma. When you look at the Earth now, Turelian's pointing to it, he still has his 2 thumbs up. You see the thing change, and we feel an uplifting, kind of an acceleration of vibration. And the Earth changes to a planet Earth that has no polar ice caps. And the moon has oxygen and atmosphere and waters and rivers and little mountains and lakes, little oceans. It's turning on its axis as it moves around the sun. We have just experienced a third parallel dimension above the one you're used to on Earth, where an Earth world exists in a higher molecular time rate. And there is life on that Earth and that moon. And it is quite different than life on Earth and the moon you're familiar with. Remember that I said there are 144 parallel dimensions of the physical universe before you even get to the next major division, what is known as the astral plane in English language. This is in the third. There's one above here, and then this is the third one above that. You can see a continent that stretches from the left to the right hemisphere, covering half the planet. It extends upward towards the North Pole about a third of the way, and then extends to the right, and then downward to about a third of the way above the South Pole and back up. You can see through this planet as the Atma, and there's another continent on the other side, centered over the equator, about 2/3 its size. That is Atla or Atlantis. That continent you're looking at is Lemuria. But it is a Lemurian Atlantis that never had the poles change and were never destroyed like they were on the planet you're familiar with. Master teachers and beings from the stars work in dome cities there on that world, a few. And there are 5 dome cities on the moon, full of life. And as it turns on its axis, you can see 2 dome cities centered in the mountainous region on the backside, coming into light as it turns and moves around the Earth. This Earth and this moon have been there for eons. It's a protected reality by the Sayrays and others. And we can learn and be taught in the dome city that's at the base of a snow-capped mountain down on that planet at night when we're out of our bodies. They begin to make us aware of these other realities and how to be free of fear so that one day we can help co-create, superimposing this planet and this moon over the one we have now. The moon is not destined to stay a barren place like it is in the world you're familiar with. The polar flips of planet Earth that happen psychically in history have been permanently suspended. Earth is an unusual planet because cultures have developed for 100,000 years and then been wiped out overnight. And the colonies and people from the stars had to reseed human and humanoid and plant and mammalian life here a number of times. So it's not a fair playing field. Earth people have not been allowed to evolve for millions of years unhindered in this way. Now they have the opportunity to do this. Down on that continent, down near the southern polar region, right in the middle of the equator heading south, you can see an emerald green beach that's kind of curved like a half moon, the bottom point of the continent, glowing. You can see it from space. And we're going to get a little grounding in that before we go into the higher worlds across the void. When you look down and see your feet standing in space, this body that's projected out in front of the spherical Atma that you are, you suddenly see that you are looking down on your feet, sinking into emerald green sand, glowing with a foot of light above the sand. And you're near this top curve of this curved beach with a beautiful jungle behind you. And in the distance, you can see a single snow-capped mountain, glacier covered, and down on a lower plateau to the left, a domed city covering a big lake, kind of a blue-green lake, 3 4-sided, golden-sided, quartz-capped pyramids in a city center off towards the background on the left. And in the background, a semicircular mountain range with little waterfalls running down it, built there for this aesthetic pleasure of the beings who work there. And little domes in the countryside laced with little white stone-like pathways. When you look up this mountainside, you see a waterfall cascading out of a cavern opening 2/3 of the way towards the summit, falling straight down a cliff edge and disappearing in a blue-green forest that surrounds the backside of this dome city. And above it is a cavern, man-made, with little semi-spherical dome lights leading into the interior of the mountain. When you look behind you out at the ocean, you can see Turellian, 18 feet tall, standing in the ocean up to his knees, two thumbs up, giving us a quirky little smile. You can look down and see this green energy, which is a gift from, you remember the couple standing in space, 10 feet tall, with the silver hair and violet eyes? This is a gift to this world, this earth, in this higher frequency from this couple and their people. The green energy is about recall and remembering who and what you are that's lived many lives on many worlds, mostly as an extraterrestrial in regards to Earth, before you found yourself incarnating on this world, the world you're familiar with. This green energy moves up your legs. It feels good. It feels like cooling and warm at the same time. Remember, your body here that looks just like you is energy. It's not atomic in nature, and it's moving up through the top of your head, and you look up smiling, and you see the sphere that you are, the white core. And the green energy goes into it and is moved out into the green layer and stored in teardrop-shaped higher faculty centers in that area. And then you look up and you find that we are in space, hovering in space above this parallel dimension Earth with no polar ice caps, and this lovely moon with oxygen and atmosphere and people, 7 dome cities on it. They each have 3 golden pyramids with quartz caps, which are devices in each one. And we are standing in space, the real us, the spherical us, looking at Turelling in the center, and he points upward. And you begin to see a beautiful cobalt blue, deep blue star flash into existence, lights up outer space. And you can see that the energy surrounding the Earth and this living moon and the sun and the stars is packed full of a white golden light. It's not black or dark at all. And this star begins to widen into thousands of little blue stars, and it opens like the eye of a camera into a doorway, moving like a galaxy of stars around an opening. And on the other side, just above us, you can see a brilliant blue atmosphere. And in the distance, floating in it, is some gigantic circular landmass with a white glowing beach around it, 6 snow-covered mountain peaks in the center, floating in this blue atmosphere. There are no suns, no planets, no stars. And then we see a circle of beings surround all of us, 100 men and women, that create a kind of a space with spheres, each sphere separated by a distance, and these create a little sphere around us. And these are master teachers who live and move and have bodies in the lower dimensions of time and space. And they teach in where we're going. That whole sphere begins to move upward with all of us inside it, up in through this opening until we're floating and heading towards the distance, toward this floating circular landmass. And then that vortex, when we look behind us, vanishes and disappears. And all you see in every direction is a luminous blue atmosphere. And soon we're hovering above, directly above these 6 snow-covered mountain peaks in a hexagon shape, looking down on it from high in the atmosphere. And when you look out over the horizon, you can see in every direction this white luminous beach completely encircles the outer circumference of this floating landmass. When you look down between the 6 mountain peaks, you see there is an island down in the basin between the peaks, and a luminous blue-green lake surrounding a white sandy island. And on it is a blue pedestal, maybe 4 feet high, 2.5 feet wide, with curved, smooth edges. Looks like lapis lazuli, with like a blue stone with gold lace through it. And a 4-foot wide hovering sphere of cobalt blue light with a little blue star in the center of it. All the way down there between the 6 mountain peaks. And when you focus on this sphere, you can see a white golden light, a shaft of light, descending from the heavens above through the blue atmosphere, down into this cobalt blue star, down into this sphere, and it continues out the bottom of this floating landmass and is distributed in the next plane below, which is where the Atma comes from, original home of the Atma, one of the lower dimensions in the higher worlds. It's above the void. There's a being there named Satnam. You can see him waving his hands at us up through the dimension. And he's standing next to a fountain. It's a white alabaster fountain in a garden that has a circular kind of botanical paradise around it. And in the distance, you can see kind of a crystal palace all along the base of a long snow-capped mountain range. And in this fountain is a statue of this being who's standing on this white marble floor, 100 feet across, at the edge of it by a path, just waving at us. And inside this fountain is a statue of this being. He has 2 gold bracelets on his upper arms, a white tunic dress from his waist to his bare ankles, bare-chested, strong, about 36, bronze-skinned, and this statue is emanating from the open palms of his hands down by his sides, this white golden light pouring into the bowl, filling it. It's a luminous liquid light. Flows over the edge of the scalloped edge of this white alabaster stone. That's what it looks like. Flows in an even glowing sheet and vanishes in the floor. When you look at the statue, it changes into a shaft of white golden light. Same white golden light that comes from the cobalt blue sphere on the island in the center of the 6 mountain peaks just above here. It is in a parallel dimension between the 5th and 6th realities above the void. We are hovering in what is called the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. It was brought into existence for the first time about 8 years ago, Earth time, so that beings could begin to create together, change, and test it, so that the lower worlds of time and space, without destroying them, can change for the better. When you look down to the left of this western mountain, on the lower plateau, you can see what's called the Blue Glass Administration Tower. It rises out of a circular floor, white marble floor. It's completely transparent and smooth, comes up a number of stories and into a flattened spherical area, administration, and then goes up to a minaret point. You can see a fountain in the center of it, inside this spherical area, and a white shaft of golden light pouring into it, doing the same thing. At the base of this marble floor, circular, are white roadways that extend like spokes of a bicycle tire in every direction, all the way around it, and they go through tunnels through the mountains, go into the hollowed center of the mountain range, and then out through tunnels to exit straight as an arrow onto the beach, circling this entire landmass. When you look at the western roadway that goes out to the beach to the west, you can see the little white roadway turns left and then right and left and right all the way down this several miles in the distance. And there are clearings with different structures. They can be pyramidal, spherical on tripod legs, tall pyramidal shapes and different structures. And these are teaching facilities. Beings from the lower dimensions of time and space that can come here teach here. They work with beings who travel here to assist them to co-create new ways of doing things collectively that can be implemented in the lower worlds of time and space. One of the things they've been worked on here and have brought into creation is the ability to retire evil as an experiment, a failed experiment, by the way, in the lower worlds. Replace it with a new ray in the omnipresent, people call Holy Spirit. It's really an omnipresent living co-creative energy. A way to retire evil as an experiment, replace it with energy in beings, the core of our being, that motivates all Atmas to only create with their imagination that which will be of uplifting benefit to all life in the entire grand multidimensional universe, including life on Earth. Now you know what the purpose of this place is for. There is no negative nature whatsoever of any kind that can be brought to this reality. That is left turned off with your sleeping body back on earth. And in the bodies in the lower dimensions that are also asleep. Emotion, imagination, anything negative is turned off. It is quite impossible for any of us to bring any negative nature here. This is the first step we must take into regaining freedom and true free will as co-creators with Prime Creator, the source behind all life. You see the Western roadway among dozens of them that circle around this white marble floor with this blue glass administration tower coming up out of it. We're going to move as a group of beings. There are 100 other beings in a sphere around us, and we're going to move over to the beach, all the way out to the end of the white roadway, past the jungle and different botanical paradises. And you're going to find yourself looking down and see your bare feet sinking into white, glowing sand. It feels wonderful. The energy moves up your legs, up your head. You look up smiling. You see the sphere, the Atma you are, the soul, goes into the white core and charges it, makes it brighter. This too is about recall and remembering, but this is recall and remembering of how to co-create and work in the upper worlds above the void. Remember. 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 You look out in the ocean in this wondrous place and you see Turellian standing up to his knees out in this little bit darker, radiant blue, kind of a blue ocean. It's really just energy that's made to look like an ocean. Remember, there are no suns or moons or stars here. They are not necessary. These realities created and maintained by beings here exist for the sole purpose of beings collectively getting together to create new ways of solving the bigger problems of eternity. And next to Turellian, you're going to see a very much larger sphere hovering down from the sky until it stops behind him. It's 4 times wider with twice as many layers in it than Turellian. And then you see a being, a body form appear standing in front of it, much taller than Turellian actually, in this particular scenario. And you can see that it has long blonde hair, a white gown, simple sandals, and a face with no facial features. When you look at the face, you see the depth of spinning billions of galaxies on different levels. This is what is called the top silent mentor, or silent one. These are the beings who have been in creation to maintain and control of grand multidimensional creation. Planets turning on their axis, moving around suns, galaxies spinning on their axis, doorways between parallel and higher dimensional realities. They maintain the creation. They have had little to do in eternity with the evolution or advancement of individual Atma. But they are starting to co-create here in this place with master teachers and all of us, because there is kind of a new being coming into existence from here. A being that blends the love and kindness and mastery of an individual master teacher like an Atma running a human body, and the energy of total freedom these silent ones create. They can be anywhere in creation, on any level, on any planet, instantly, in any form, without any limitations of time and space over them. They are busy 24/7. They do not sleep. They do not get fatigued. And just by his presence here, we're beginning to experience what it's like a little bit to be a silent one. And they are experiencing through our telepathic connection what it's like to care for other beings, to care for all life, because that's really not been in their experience. So you might say that those of us that are here, are beginning to go through an evolutionary change to incorporate some of the capabilities of a silent mentor with loving kindness. He's simply showing himself to you Torellian is well aware of him. The mentors of the Seres are these silent ones. They're the silent mentors, as I call them, because they are now mentoring people in a very subtle way. This level, this Hue Expansionary Academy, exists between Satnam's realm below it, the sixth realm above it, and many dimensional realms beyond that, all the way up into an ocean of sound and light. And that simply looks like a huge galaxy of brilliant white stars, you'd think they're stars, floating in an even brighter blue atmosphere, all by itself. And we suddenly experience ourselves moving in amongst billions of other fellow beings, spherical, that comprise this galactic-looking universe. There's a huge bulbous center to it, and we're moving into the center of it, and then there's a void inside it and a brilliant blue star hovering above a white, round island. This blue star represents the focused center of all beings, all souls, all Atmas in all of the grand multidimensional universe, connected together as they are and were at the beginning, without any negative nature. This source will speak with you, each one of you. It is not a tyrant being or a human being or a god on a throne. It is greater than the sum of its parts, and so it emulates out a well-being and support for all life, especially now, because even its consciousness has changed recently. What do I mean by that? It means that the retiring of evil as a failed experiment in the lower worlds is underway. It's not just about extraterrestrials. It's much deeper than that. And so it will speak with you. And what you're getting is the wisdom of that combined consciousness, the supreme source or prime creator. We are the same as it on a smaller scale. We are co-creators with it. It encourages us to respect that source and each other and all life in all of it. And then you suddenly find yourself all the way down, hovering above Earth, above your body, looking kindly down on that sleeping form. If you're in Thailand with Perry, then she's hovering above her own body. If you're me, it's above Lake Forest. If it's any of you, it's above wherever you live. And here is what you must do consciously of free will. You have brought back an experience that has no negative nature in it. Download it or send a white, thin, golden white beam into the pineal gland, the center of your brain, and let it gently radiate out through your skull, out through your body, and continue until it connects with 3 pyramids that are stationed on Earth today. 2 at the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans, 1 hidden in a mountain in the Himalayas. They are connected together. They have golden-sided, glowing sides and a quartz crown. There is one of these fountains inside each one. And the energy you're sending out through your body are connected to that fountain in all 3. And then you see the energy move through you effortlessly, through the planet and out into space, where it connects with one massive pyramid floating in the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter. And then it goes out and connects to massive pyramids floating between each star in our Milky Way galaxy. And as you might guess, this will eventually go all the way back up into the ocean of light and sound itself, purified. So be kind to your own form on Earth and allow yourself to begin to know things with certainty once again, without doubt and fear and theory and speculation and I don't know kind of an attitude. You have the ability to let yourself know things. The Atma has always had the ability to be dominant over any form of negativity, negative technology or beings, but has gone through many experiences that have made it forget this. This process is to assist you to recover that. When you're ready, open your eyes.
Oh, I have been waiting for these days, God.
Well, never put it in the future. It's taking place right now. And the key here is that people on Earth, including animals, who have Atmas running them too, by the way, need to remember we're not alone in the universe, and many other countless races are aware of this stuff. They're able to grasp it more quickly when it was presented to them because they didn't grow up with subconscious minds like we did here. So they're in a better position to help everybody on Earth than anyone if they wish to, and they do. They're not going to do it by just giving it to everybody so that nobody has to lift a finger. They're going to help people recover this through their own effort, through their own imagination, so that once they have it, it'll be permanent. And they won't have to reincarnate unconscious in a baby body anymore.
It is a great journey with the top silent one and the souls. It means a lot.
I want to wish you and there's also another book here. You remember
Yeah.
there's the series agenda, guys. Oops, upside down. Okay, there's Mark Sandfield on the back. You'll find out who he is. The Emerald Doorway. You see what's on the front cover?
Yes.
You see these beings in the book. There's Melina, blue skin. She's the daughter of Opelum I introduced you to. There's Ramu and his standing on a disc. It's a device, an anti-gravitic disc. There's Etta floating in the air. And there's Kalem. Now this event, and this is the ancient one coming from the fifth reality, which is where Satnam is. And this master teacher is introducing these three beings. This is 100,000 years ago after the poles flipped and Lemrie and Atlantis and other lands were destroyed. A new continental landmass, as you see there, rose up from the seafloor. And this is an important event towards the later part of the book. There are three of these. This is the Emerald Doorway. This is book one of the Parallel Time Trilogy. So this is more about extraterrestrial and other master teacher involvements in Earth 100,000 years ago that are connected to present time. And this is more about what's taking place out among the stars today that's affecting this world and where it's headed in a new, quite different destiny. Past prophesied destructive destinies for this world have been permanently altered. So people will find this all out on their own anyway. They don't have to take my word for it. It's better they go into the Hue, work with the techniques in the series gen, and find it out for themselves.
So people can take this opportunity to work from home, stay home. They can read these two books, Scott, or they can buy online, right, Scott? Ebook.
Oh, Amazon, yeah, because they'll still deliver even though we're quarantined. You know, they'll deliver books. You know, there's no money involved from my part for radio shows or, you know, the websites. There's no shopping cart at my 4 websites. It's just the books are available. The links to Amazon and iTunes and all that are there. So, you know, the only way I can distribute this work out to people where they can explore it is if it's sold through online retailers or nobody would get them. So I have to do that way. I recommend that people work with the reading or exploring these books and think of it as directly experiential. Think of them as interdimensional doorways with a safely protected energy field around them so people can begin to meet with and gain momentum on recall and remembering about who they are to regain true free will and what they once knew before they found themselves incarnated here. I reckon, you know, I wish them all the very best, all the people listening. If you were on this journey with us, then try to understand that you were actually there. Fantasy and imagination are not made up in the brain. Whatever you imagine exists somewhere, even if it's distorted from subconscious negative influences. Without those subconscious negative influences, you see clearly beyond the earth, out of body, and in the other realities. So I'll leave everybody with that. Perry, would you like to say anything else to?
Yeah, for those who watch this show or our show, Scott, please thumb up and subscribe to and share to others, you know, so they can share the experience as well.
Really good seeing you again, Perry.
Yeah, good to see you too. And thank you very much, Scott, and all friend beings from every dimension.
Well, next week we'll do a little more private journey too. And then we'll have another radio show like this 2 weeks from now, same day.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop the
Okay.
recording. You're welcome.
See you next time. Bye.
Pleasant dreams.